You're listening to WOLF, Wolf Radio, broadcast in Carrollton at the University of West Georgia.
Welcome to Wolves of the Written Word.
More college students should read.
Reading is cool.
Have you ever read a book before?
Of course I have. This show used to be a podcast.
Dystopian is my favorite genre.
That's depressing.
Wow, I can't believe that's banned.
Wolves of the Written Word.
Wolves of the Written Word.
Wolves of the Written Word. Wolves of the Written Word. Wolves of the Written Word. Wolves of the Written Word. Wolves of the Written Word.
Enjoy the show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Wolves of the Written Word, Wolf Radio's flagship book show where we talk about all things reading, literature, and books. I'm your host, Sean Smith.
I'm your co-host, Janelle Michelle.
I'm your co-host, Adia Stubblefield.
And for this episode of Wolves of the Written Word, we're going to be talking about Bridgerton by Julia Quinn. Now, I have heard of this book series before, and it has gotten a bit popular over the new Netflix adaptation, especially since both Janelle and Adia both really want to talk about it. But before we begin, just a couple of rules. Rule number one, of course, we talk about all books, mostly the good and the bad. We mostly, of course, have to read the book before we talk about it. And, of course, last rule, we're here to have fun and talk about stories and engage with certain fictional characters. So, of course, just a bit of a backstory for those of you who don't know what Bridgerton is. Bridgerton is like a Regency era kind of book series set in an alternate universe where like it's a bit more diverse, and it focuses on the Bridgerton family and their love and their dynamics. So if you're a big fan of Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice, but you also like POC characters, I think this book series is very much for you. But for now, I think before we kind of
actually
actually,
it's just the series that's diverse. But
Yeah.
if you want diverse Bridgerton, there's like a spin-off called the Davenports, and they're like POCs.
Yeah,
But
because
the main series isn't really.
in the books, they're not like actually diverse. They're all just like white people. But in the series, they're diverse. That's where it's like an alternate universe.
Yeah.
Basically.
Oh, cool. All right. As you know, of course, Bridgerton has gotten a bit more popular because of the Netflix show, and I think there are some more misconceptions as well. But for me, I never actually read Bridgerton, of course. This is probably something a bit newer for me, but I guess mostly just what makes the series kind of stand out? Like, what makes this a bit different from any other kind of romance or anything like that? And for those of you who are listening and tuning in, we are going to be kind of exchanging a little bit from the books, but also a little bit about the Netflix series as well. But we're still, of course, going to be talking about the books.
For me, I feel like what mainly stands out has to be like the siblings and the family core aspect. Because I really like reading romances that has like more than romance. Because I enjoy reading the interactions between all the other characters. And I think I especially like because all of my favorite book tropes at some point
Are in
the Bridgerton series. Yeah.
I agree with you. That's actually what like draws me into Bridgerton, because I watched the show before I read the books, and then I read the books, and I find it very interesting how it's like this big family of like 8 siblings, one mother, father died young. Like I find that very interesting, and like how they interact, and also the fact that like it's just a whole bunch of different love stories, bunch of different love tropes. Like we have enemies to lovers, friends to lovers. Isn't there like
There's a love triangle.
there's a love triangle at some point. There's also, I'm pretty sure, like forced proximity, forced marriage. Like there's just a lot going on in Bridgerton, and it's all handled decently well.
I think really well, yeah.
Of course. So, Bridgerton, of course, has gotten a bit popular, and I realized that I'm not really as much of a big romance guy, but I do like seeing relationships and dynamics between certain people, because I believe, of course, romance is more of a subgenre, and it's a bit harder to kind of engage with people in like a big romance kind of thing. So I would probably say, how would you say that Bridgerton has kind of found this kind of large audience? Because I know that it's not YA. I know that. It's definitely not YA. It's more for a mature kind of audience who prefers more kind of sophisticated romance. So how would you say that it has found an audience even with younger people, I would say?
I say a lot of younger people do like reading romance. I feel like the first time I read Bridgerton was in 2020, so that has to be like 7th grade. Yeah, I read it. Yeah, I know. I read it right before it became a TV show. And I feel like what draws like a younger audience in is, I don't know, I think the core family theme, 1. And 2, this is really bad, but because it's a British theme thing, I feel like a lot of us really enjoy like the Regency era stuff like that because it seems so far out and so unique compared to the time we live in now.
I agree with that. It's like that's kind of what intrigues you a little bit about it before you know, like, oh, this is a huge family and there's all these different love stories. It's the fact that it's like this Regency romance with like a little twist of a little bit of mystery and there's like some intrigue in it, and it's seems so completely different. Like you said, it's so completely different than like the world that we're currently in, that it's just like so interesting to see and learn about like what it would have been like to fall in love back then in a time where a lot of people weren't really falling in love, or like a lot of people were just having arranged marriages, not getting married for love.
And I think that's why I liked it so much, because I feel like in a lot of Regency stories it is like we're getting married, eventually we fall in love.
Yeah,
but Bridgerton's like, core focus is y'all love each other, you're gonna get married. Yeah.
Or it's like, I love you, but I don't want to love you. So we're gonna get married, and now, okay, I know I love you. Like, it's very much like love focused first, and all the Bridgerton siblings find love matches, which is very uncommon.
Rare, yeah.
Very rare. Even the parents, like the parents are the ultimate love match, and then everybody after just finds a love match that is something like what their parents had in some way, shape, or form.
Of course. Continuing on, I think that for someone that hasn't really read Bridgerton, what would you recommend to the people out there who haven't read Bridgerton to where to start? You know, because I know I think there's 8 books in the main series and then maybe a couple of spinoffs, if I'm not mistaken.
Start at the first book.
Yeah, start at the first book.
Start at the first. I would recommend, because like Adia has fully read the Bridgerton siblings, like the whole series. I have read up into Francesca's book, so I have like half Francesca's book left and then the last 2 siblings left, and then, you know, all the spinoffs and stuff. But I would recommend start at the first book and work your way down, because it goes in that order.
Yeah.
Like all the stories are told in that order, and even like the epilogues that they have, depending on what versions of the book like you read or you listen to, it'll have the epilogues too. The epilogues are like a little in the future, but it all goes in that order so that everything that you learn book by book about each of the siblings.
And then if you don't really care about like the Bridgerton family, there's the Davenports, which is like a spin-off of Bridgerton, which focuses on a black family in the Ton, or Queen Charlotte, which I think is a really, I don't want to say it's a nice starting point, because technically she's not a real character in the books, but like, Queen Charlotte is a good like dip your toe into the Bridgerton world,
especially if you're really into the show, or if like you want to get into the show and you watched Queen Charlotte and you're just like, I want to hear more, or I want to read more, go read Queen Charlotte. Plus, I think Violet also has her own book about her and Edmund's love story, possibly, or maybe it's her love after Edmund.
I know there's something with Edmund, because you learn about his siblings and stuff like that, but I don't remember if it's like,
oh, I actually know that one. It's like the other Bridgerton sisters or something, and it's like 3 books about his siblings or like his cousins and stuff and their love stories.
Wow, of course. Well, Bridgerton seems very deep, complex, and has a lot of people, but you know which needs a lot of people? Waffle House. Ever wanted to support your favorite station while eating Waffle House hash browns? Wolf Radio is hosting a Spirit Night February 24th from 2 p.m. to 9 p.m. at the Maple Street Waffle House. That is the Maple Street Waffle House, not any others, on February 24th, 2 p.m. to 9 p.m. Your scattered, smothered order will cover our needs. Waffle House Spirit Night, 2 p.m. to 9 p.m. on Tuesday, February 24th at the Maple Street location. But in the meantime, we'll be talking more about Bridgerton right after the break.
I started reading a book about a maze. I got lost in it. You're listening to Wolves of the Written Word.
We're sorry, but the DJ you are trying to reach is out of the studio right now. If you would like to leave a message, please visit at the Wolf UWG on Instagram. For campus updates, behind-the-scenes chaos, music moments, student takeovers, or all the fun that happens when the mics are off, follow us on Instagram at the Wolf UWG. Wolf Radio, For students, by students.
Keep calm and listen on. You're listening to Wolves of the Written Word.
Welcome back to Wolves of the Written Word, where we talk about reading, books, and literature. But one of the main important things, of course, that is more important than books, is breakfast. Scattered, smothered, covered by Wolf Radio at our Spirit Night, February 24th from 2 p.m. to 9 p.m. at the Maple Street Waffle House. In-person or to-go orders will help support our shows, podcasts, and digital content. So be an all-star and order an all-star at the Maple Street Waffle House on February 24th from 2 p.m. to 9 p.m. That is 2 p.m. to 9 p.m. February 24th at the Maple Street Waffle House.
That is tomorrow, y'all. I hope that you guys come out. Come support us. Woo.
Of course, tomorrow, man, I do love me a waffle. I'm more of a pancake person, though. Anyway, so we have been talking about Bridgerton, of course, most of our experiences with the books, of course. Adia, of course, has been the one who have read all of the books in the series. Mm-hmm. I do not know how many books Janelle has read, though, in the Bridgerton series.
I want to say 6. Yes, 6.
Okay, cool. But for now, we're actually going to go a little bit deeper into the books, of course. And Adia, of course, can guide us through this, of course, since I have not read any of the books, of course. But hopefully I do make enough time to actually read the first book in the series. But mostly we're going to talk about, like, the strengths and weaknesses in most of the books. So, Adia, what would you say that is kind of like the strongest aspect of the series that you kind of enjoyed the most?
My strength and weakness is going to be kind of complicated, so you have to let me cook for a bit. So the strengths are definitely the love story, because I'm a helpless romantic, but the weaknesses are the men. I genuinely hate all the Bridgerton men with a burning passion, and I feel like if you aren't in that mindset of like the guys are bad, you're not going to enjoy the book as much.
This is true.
You have to remember context with the time period.
This is so true. I fully agree with this. If you guys don't know, Wolves of the Written Word, like I think a couple days ago, posted social media to promo this episode, and it was literally me and Adia ranking the Bridgerton men, because quite actually all of these men, or majority of the Bridgerton men, actually kind of suck and are mostly men-child. Like, they are children. They are actual children. Well, not actual children, but like they are children, and they don't know how to act, and it kind of throws you off. But then it's like the love stories, it's so good, and then you like it, and it's like,
yeah,
I don't know, man.
It's like you have to remember the context of when it took place, because like if you stop for a second, you're like, yeah, no, I don't like this book, and you're gonna want to put it down.
If you stop for even like 0.5 seconds, then you're just like, what did he just say? Because the guys will be in their head, because the story is like, it's told from the female's perspective, it's told from the male's perspective, and then depending on what book you're reading, you have a little bit of Lady Whistledown in there, and then when Lady Whistledown like leaves because she's revealed, then you start having like letters from people or whatever. But I absolutely love how you'll be reading the girl's perspective, and they'll just be like, yeah, I don't know what he was doing, that was really weird, anyways, let's move on, live life. And then he'll be in his head and he'll be like, I can't believe she disobeyed me, I can't believe she didn't listen to me, this woman did it. And it's just like, can we chill?
And I feel like this is also kind of a weakness writing wise. If you aren't paying attention to the POVs, maybe it's just me, I get confused sometimes when they switch back and forth, which is why for Bridgerton, I think I like listening to the audio version more than actually reading it.
Same, because as we all know, like, I love audiobooks. I've basically listened to and then like held a book and read some of, I think like the first 2 books I was like listening to it and reading it with a book at the same time. And then for the rest of the books that I've just been listening to them all the time. And it's a lot easier to, like, pacing wise and following the story, it's a lot easier to listen to the books than it is to read them, because they switch perspectives fast. They speak like it's mid-sentence that it will go like just
mid-sentence.
Mid-sentence. It's like the sentence will literally be like, and then I dropped my ring and I picked up her ring. And it literally is that fast. Like, period. I picked up her, like, I dropped my ring, I picked up her ring, handed it to her, like, super, super fast. But I would also say, for me, a strength, because my weakness is the same as Adia's, the men. Boo. But my strength is actually, I love Lady Whistledown. I love Lady Whistledown in the books so much.
I don't. Maybe because I don't like Penelope. I feel like Lady Whistledown's main thing is that, like, despite that she's a woman, she's able to, like, do all these great things.
Yeah.
However, in my opinion, I feel like she kind of does the opposite, because I feel like she more tears down other women than like going for the actual men.
That's a fair point.
And that's why
In the show, like, she's a little bit better. I understand. I also personally, I see them as two completely different people.
That is
like Lady Whistledown in the show versus Lady Whistledown in the series. Completely different, because in the show, she's like pro women. She's like, in the new season, not to give like a ton of spoilers, but she has like a conversation with somebody, and she's like, I'm not gonna post this the way that you want me to post this, because that could ruin this person's reputation. And she's like very thinking, very like careful with stuff, even though like sometimes she makes decisions that it's just like, okay, maybe you shouldn't have done that because of this person's reputation, but it's like she tries. But in the books, she's very fast to like just say stuff about people no matter who it's gonna hurt. But the reason I like her in the books is because I love the fact that we don't know who Lady Whistledown is until the 4th book.
Yeah,
because in the show, end of the 1st season, you know. In the book series, you just have Lady Whistledown, and then you get to Colin and Penelope's book, and it kind of like, you kind of figure it out, because Lady Whistledown is like getting a little suspicious the closer and closer you get to the reveal. So I like that.
Of course. I do not know who Lady Whistledown is, of course.
Oh,
so sorry.
Right. So
sorry.
Lady Whistledown is basically like the gossip reporter of the Ton. So she basically sneaks around and listens to what everybody's talking about, and she writes gossip columns on them, and she sends it out for everybody to read.
Yes. Oh, okay. So her whole character is like kind of sort of like an informational thing to spread secrets between characters, of course.
Yeah.
But since you guys kind of like Lady Whistledown, what other characters would you say are your favorite?
In the book series? Or
book series. Or even the Netflix series, of course.
In the book series, I don't know. Adia, you go first.
Favorite. In the book series, I really like Eloise and Francesca. I think I like Francesca so much because I feel like she's the calm in the Bridgerton storm.
Yeah.
And then I like Eloise because I like her spinster plotline, actually. Like, I like that she basically wanted to like be away from society and kind of do her own thing as a woman. And I really appreciated her arc of that.
Yeah, I actually like the fact that in the book series, there's like a lot of time jumps. So there's a lot of years in between all the stories, rather than like in the show, then it's like a couple years and whatever. But I really like the fact that in the book series, Eloise actually like becomes a spinster.
Yeah.
Like, she's actually a spinster for a couple, because technically in Regency time, I think you're considered a spinster if you're not married by like your 3rd or 4th marriage mark, or like you're like around, and that's at that point you're like 21, maybe.
Yeah, you're
20.
like 21, 22.
Yeah,
so.
21, 22. So Eloise didn't get married till she was like 29. So she was actually a spinster for real, for real. And I like the fact that it was like, she basically was just like, I want to be a spinster, I want to do whatever I want. And then she was like, actually, never mind, let me get married. Like, that's basically what she does. I don't like the fact, like the way that she gets married necessarily, but it happens in her own terms. So, but I also just don't like her husband.
Of course. Well, it seems like that Bridgerton has a lot of cool storylines and unique characters to kind of experience and read about. But I wonder what would happen if it was a bit different.
What if? What if? What if?
What if your favorite author wrote something else? Welcome to If Blank Wrote.
That's right. This is If Blank Wrote. It's basically sort of a special segment where we talk about what would happen if our favorite author was written by something else, basically a different story written by a different author, or if something changed a bit differently. So for this special segment, of course, when we were, of course, developing this side, I think one of the main ideas was that what if Bridgerton was written by Shonda Rhimes, of course. Now, let's establish some context, of course. Shonda Rhimes is the TV show showrunner for Grey's Anatomy, and I think Murder, She Wrote. No. How to Get Away with Murder.
Yes.
Right. And Grey's Anatomy.
And Grey's Anatomy.
And Bridgerton.
And also she did write for Bridgerton. So for the concept of this, Shonda Rhimes, of course, is the one who came up with the idea for Bridgerton and wrote it as a book series. So keeping in mind all of her unique situations and the way that she writes characters and plot, how would you say that Bridgerton itself as a book series would be different if Shonda Rhimes wrote Bridgerton instead of Julia Quinn?
That is a very good question.
For starters, I think it'd be a lot like the actual TV series. I've watched almost all of Shonda Rhimes' shows, and she loves diversity.
She loves
and she
diversity.
loves to make like a POC romance. Like she loves interracial stuff. So definitely it would be like that.
Yeah.
And then I feel like there will be more yearning on the male's part.
Yes.
Because Shonda Rhimes does a really good job of writing male characters who want like the women more than the women want the men.
Yeah. I think if Shonda Rhimes had written Bridgerton like from the beginning, the men would be a lot more likable because she would make them less like, this is my woman because this is my woman, I like her, and she would make them more like, I love you, I want. Yeah, I think it would be a lot more like the show actually, in different ways obviously, but like in the show they do really well at like having the men yearn for their women, and I think the book would, if Shonda Rhimes wrote it, she would make them yearn a lot more.
Because I don't want to bring up the show again, but the one season Shonda Rhimes, season 3, didn't really have that big of a part in was the season that like the girl wanted the guy more, and it was like the least appreciated season so far.
Yeah, that was definitely the season that had some like differences between the newer, like this current season and the seasons that came before it. But I would also say if Shonda wrote the book, I think we would have a completely different perspective and a completely different take on Lady Whistledown. Completely different. Because like the way that she's portrayed in the show is definitely different than she is in the books. But I also think it would be approached in a different way. Because the way it's approached in the books is just like, you have Lady Whistledown's column, and it like you read Lady Whistledown's column, and that's kind of like how you know her. And then at the end of every book, it kind of gives like a slight little clue as to like the person who's writing down Lady Whistledown, but it doesn't really tell you much. I think if Shonda wrote the book, Shonda probably would have like had Lady Whistledown actually be like this mysterious character that's haunting the narrative.
And I also think there'd be more like of a disaster. I feel like Shonda Rhimes likes a big dramatic punch, and the only thing bad that's happened to the Bridgerton family that's actually last was like
Their
the dad dying. So I feel like they would have had more trauma
than
throughout
just
the book series, because they're all rich, like super rich. So whether they marry or not, they're all going to be set.
just like
And I feel like if Shonda Rhimes wrote it, she would have more stakes towards the marriages.
yeah, or maybe more so of like, if you don't get married by this point in time, this thing could happen, or like it could cause your siblings' marriages to actually like not happen, or it could mess up your family's reputation, because it's very much that like in the books they're rich, and in the show they're rich, like they are very rich. The Bridgertons are up there.
They don't have to worry about anything.
They don't have to worry about anything because they're like, Anthony Bridgerton is a viscount. A viscount is right under a duke. A duke is basically right under the king. They are rich. They have money.
And then Loki, kind of a teeny weeny bit of a spoiler warning if you're watching season 4, but even like Benedict with Sophie, even though the stakes are supposed to be high because Benedict is high class and Sophie's a maid, there's a plot twist that makes it not really as high stakes anymore. And I feel like if Shonda Rhimes wrote it, she would have taken that little plot twist out.
Oh yeah.
And would have been like, they can't be together. Benedict has to give something up for Sophie. And
definitely, if Shonda wrote 4, like if Shonda wrote book 4, season 4, well, in the book it's book 3, but like if she had wrote Benedict and Sophie's story, she most definitely would have made it be like Benedict has to give up everything, has to basically like denounce being a Bridgerton to love Sophie, because Julia Quinn, she kind of like gives them like a slight little cop out at the end with the thing, like the little spoiler that happens, because we're trying not to like tell you what it is because I don't want to spoil that part, because it's actually like it's a bit shocking like when you hear it, but it's also not shocking. But I think if Shonda wrote that, she would not give them that cop out at all.
Wow. So what I'm kind of getting at, of course, is that Julia Quinn focuses a bit more on the fictional kind of fantasy aspect.
Yeah.
Like when you open the book, these are fictional characters.
Yeah.
They're supposed to be kind of unhinged and mythical and made up.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter if their actions are a bit different because they follow a certain plot in what the author is writing. But with Shonda Rhimes, she would be a bit more grounded.
Yeah.
She would kind of follow this take and give to the point where these characters have to actually give something up in order to continue. And I have not really seen that much Grey's Anatomy, but it is kind of like that, because I think that from what I'm hearing is that there's not much that really impactful happens in Bridgerton. It's like do the characters go to war, or do they get attacked by like bandits or something? I mean,
Nah.
is there like a disease that causes sickness? I mean,
Well, like, yes. In Francesca's book, yes.
I mean, yeah, that's the only disaster.
That's like
but
the disaster. And
Shonda
then,
Rhimes, what she
yeah.
did to like Meredith Grey in Grey's Anatomy.
No, that was crazy.
She likes to torture her characters.
She
so
likes
I
to
feel
torture her
like
characters. And if she wrote the books, they would be tortured. Because if you really go through each sibling and think about like the bad thing that happened to them, it's not really much. Like Anthony, or we could start with Daphne. Daphne and the Duke. The Duke has a very bad childhood that makes him to be a very interesting person. Daphne has kind of just been sheltered her whole entire life, and then her father died. That's what happens with them.
The biggest trauma I think is Francesca.
Yeah, the biggest trauma is Francesca, because Francesca,
she loses a husband. And then marries his cousin,
but his cousin is very sick. So it's like she goes through a lot, and then she also loses a child, the child that her and her dead husband had right before he died. So it's like Francesca goes through a lot, and all the other siblings, I think the only one who has maybe a little bit more trauma is well, technically in the book, Anthony and Eloise, because Eloise found her father when
that is true, when he
died. And then Anthony
had to take on the role of like man of the house at 18, 20. He was
when
really
he was
young.
like fresh out of college, I think. And he also was very close with his father.
wow.
But I think Shonda would make it a bit darker.
Yeah. Yeah, I do agree that if Shonda Rhimes did kind of wrote Bridgerton, it would be a bit more engaging, a bit more darker, a bit more grounded. But you know what also would need you to be a bit more grounded? Drinking responsibly. College students who binge drank alcohol 3 times per week were roughly 6 times more likely to perform poorly on a test or project because of drinking. Dream City Brewing Company, Wolf Sports Network, and Wolf Radio proudly remind you to drink responsibly campaign. Students 21 and over should drink responsibly in an environment that discourages overindulging. Faculty won't take hangovers as excuses. And we'll be continuing more about Bridgerton right after the break.
You're listening to Wolves of the Written Word, where the stories are more than just what's on the pages.
Yo, what's up with these bodacious tunes? Wait, gag me with a spoon. Why am I talking like this?
No idea, but let's put that unique voice to use and sign you up for Wolf Radio's WIT program. Our righteous staff have the know-how to make you a radio expert.
Radical. So how do I sign up?
Just go to thewolfuwg.com and click the WIT program link under our About drop-down menu. Piece of cake. But we got a motor. Sticking to the clock is the most important rule of radio. Cowabunga!
The show is not over yet.
We'll be back with more Wolves of the Written Word here on Wolf Radio.
Welcome back to Wolves of the Written Word. And if you're just tuning in, we were talking about Bridgerton by Julia Quinn, a Regency-era romance that seems to have gotten very popular on the internet, especially with the Netflix adaptation. For, of course, our last segment, of course, we're actually going to be talking a little bit more in depth about the Netflix adaptation, of course, mostly just about some adaptational differences, because I know that for me, I think I was aware that Bridgerton was a book series, but I think that Bridgerton, the Netflix series, did pop up on Netflix as well. And for me, since I'm a bit of a film buff, pretty much, I know that anything on Netflix either is original and then will later get canceled, or is based off of a book series that's incredibly popular that people are going to kind of look over. So for now, mostly into the Netflix Bridgerton and mostly the book Bridgerton, since I know both of you have at least read the books and seen the series. What would you say is the biggest differences between both the Netflix show and the novels?
Well, first, the diversity. Yes. Almost all of the Bridgerton characters are dating a POC. And second, what not a lot of people realize when reading the book and watching the show is Queen Charlotte wasn't really as big as a character as she is in the show. Because, like, in the book series, the person who's going after Lady Whistledown is Lady Danbury. But in the show, it's Queen Charlotte who's like, I need to find out who Lady Whistledown is.
Yeah. Also, something that's like different is definitely the timing of the siblings' love stories and how things go. In the show, it's all a lot faster. I think we're only on year 4 right now in the show, basically, of like all these things that just kept on happening and happening and happening. But in the series, it's like spread out over a good amount of years.
I think it might be like 17 because there's a 10-year time jump at some point, so it has to be like 17, maybe 20 years.
Because it's like 10 years when for Colin and Eloise's story.
Yeah, it's 10 years.
And then it's like obviously a couple more years for when
Francesca's story.
So
I might take
or like the second. What? No,
it's a good time span in the book.
Yeah, it's a good time span
show,
in the
now
book.
that I really think about it.
Yeah, which like I'm hoping that they do a time jump at some point in the show.
I mean, they have to.
They kind of have to, because Francesca right now is very much.
She's my age. She's our age.
She's our age.
She's like
she's young. She's very young right now. And same with like Eloise. Eloise is also very young right now. Like Eloise kind of in the show, she always likes to be like, I'm a spinster. But like, girl, you is not a spinster yet. You're only on your 3rd year on the marriage mark. Like, you are not a spinster yet. And then Hyacinth has not even debuted yet. But Hyacinth has to have debuted by the time that Eloise marries.
Yeah.
So they're definitely going to do at least a couple years, I think. Maybe like 4 years of a time jump.
And then I think I really like how they changed a lot of the characters in the show compared to the book. Like Benedict's character in the book, he's more closed off and reclusive, but in the show he's like a rake and he's more like extroverted and stuff like that.
He's like the rake. Like he's one of the rake. He's very extroverted. He also, I love the fact that he has passion in the show. Like in the series, he has like this secret passion that nobody knows about, but in the show he actually like everybody knows that Benedict has talent. Benedict has a lot of talent, and he actually like does something about that. And I like, ooh, another thing that they changed from the show, like from the book to the show, is with Penelope, Lady Whistledown, which, sorry for the spoiler, y'all, but Penelope is Lady Whistledown. Penelope in the book, because it's been like 10 years since she's been Lady Whistledown, when she gets married to Colin and after she reveals to everybody that this is who she is, she gives it up. And she just like edits Colin's travel journals for the rest of the time. But in the show, since they got married so early on in the series, everybody knows Penelope is Lady Whistledown, and she's still writing. She is still writing, and Colin is sitting there helping her.
And then I really do love a character they added, Theo. He was not in the book at all, but I really do. He was in season 2 of the actual show. He's a character who Eloise falls in like with because he's a commoner, and she's just never met a person like him before. And I think I really liked it because me personally, I hope they do something with it, because there's no way you just throw that in season 2 and just
leave it for no reason.
But the characters had so much chemistry, and I feel like it just adds to the Bridgerton lore that you didn't get in the book series.
Yeah, actually, that's something I really like about Bridgerton as a like in the show rather than the book series, because the book series is very good and they do a lot of things very well, and they work very well with like the intermingling of the family and the family's relationships and all that stuff. But something I like about the show is that it's become such an ensemble show that it's like there's so many stories that are building on the Bridgerton siblings and their love stories.
Yeah.
That there's so much happening, and I love the amount of new characters that they've added, because like there's that one family, I can't remember their name, but they're like a black family.
The black family, yeah.
That they were just like
commoners. It begins with an M.
The Montclairs.
Yeah.
The Montclairs. They were a black family. They were commoners, and then the wife, it turns out that she had like an aunt or an uncle who died and left their son as the heir
to it. You get to see them come up in society, and
yeah.
that was really great to see.
Very nice. But I like it. The show and the series, they have a lot of differences, but in a very good way.
Of course. I know that some adaptations, of course, definitely don't really hit the mark as often when it comes to the books. I think we will, of course, be talking a bit more in depth about this more for our adaptation episode. But would you say that the Netflix show still keeps true to the spirit of the books, or would you say that the Netflix show kind of improves the books?
It improves, definitely. I personally take the show and the books as two separate entities. Like, even now with Francesca, she's having a love story with Michaela. I don't know why I always call her Michelle, but Michaela instead of Michael.
Yeah.
And it's just really great to see. And I feel like it's just two separate, like, two separate stories.
Very different stories.
Instead of, like, one big Bridgerton.
Yeah. I think it's adapted. I think it improves.
I think it improves a lot.
Because there's so many, like, slight plot holes in the book series, while even though it's very good, there's like certain things that they just kind of like leave off or they never like touch on. But I like the fact that the show will touch on certain things and they'll build upon certain stories and they'll like make the plot twistier.
And I just can't believe they made like, because I hate Gregory and Colin, but I really like that in the show they make them kind of like approachable. So I don't really hate Gregory as much as I did now.
I also like the fact that in the show rather than the books, they are very, very good at like making people seem like people.
Yeah.
Because in the books, they make the people seem like these mythical, like the mythical Bridgerton brothers that everybody loves and everybody wants to marry. But in the show, it's just like, oh yeah, these are the Bridgerton brothers. Everybody wants to marry them. But also, those are just the Bridgertons. Like, that's it. I like it.
Yeah, I just love the TV show, all in all.
Yes, but the book is also great.
Book is great.
We recommend the book, truly.
Everyone
I know
should read the book.
We've like loved the show a lot, but the book is also so good. And it gives you a lot of context.
It gives you a lot of context. And I feel like the book is more grounded in the time period.
Most definitely.
Than the show is.
The show takes a lot of liberties, but the book stays very true to where they are.
Of course. Well, we're coming up on that time, of course, where it's almost the end of the show. And for those people who, of course, are tuning in, we have been talking about Bridgerton by Julia Quinn, but also the Netflix adaptation of Bridgerton as well. I, of course, have not read any of the books or seen the show, but I have, of course, read about it a little bit over online. And Bridgerton seems like a very popular show that people kind of tune into. It is kind of like sort of a Regency era kind of soap opera where you can see all these character dynamics and ensembles that people kind of collectively kind of get together. And I think that for, I would say, other kind of soap operas, I think like Days of Our Lives or what was that other one that Adia mentioned, General Hospital?
Grey's Anatomy. Oh, yeah, General Hospital.
General Hospital. Grey's Anatomy is becoming a soap opera.
Yeah.
Jane the Virgin.
Love Jane. That's a telenovela. That is a telenovela. Let's put some respect on its name. We love it.
But I think that Bridgerton is actually a pretty cool series, of course.
It is.
I know that for me, I'm not that big into romance, but of course, I don't really push it away completely because I do like more realistic kind of dynamics between characters and stuff. And because it's not YA, it doesn't fall into these cliches similar to YA because I know that these characters I don't think they aren't teenagers, are they? Or they're not like...
No, yes. In a sense. Like, the men are old. They're like 28, 29. And then the girls are like 19, 20. But
because it's
just
like...
don't think about that. Because of the time period.
Because the time period.
Yeah, the time period.
In the time, that's...
Like at the time, a 19-year-old is considered like
a full-grown
adult.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I know that it doesn't fall into those kind of cliches because it kind of shows a bit more maturity and groundedness. So I think that it'd be interesting to actually read, and I think I am going to try and check out one of the first books in Bridgerton. But I think it took a while for the library to kind of request it or something. I think they have it.
The book, The Duke and I, all the first couple books, they check out fast.
3 or 4 books are really popular.
Yeah, they're like really popular, especially because those are the books that have seasons already. So it's like season 1 of Bridgerton is book 1 of Bridgerton, The Duke and I. Season 2, The Viscount Who Loved Me, that's book 2. Season 3 and 4 are different. They're switched. So season 3 is actually book 4, and season 4 is actually book 3.
And that's why those 4 books
are very popular.
Grab,
yeah. And then people, they'll like read the other books, but I think I
feel like people don't really read Hyacinth and Gregory's book because of how like far out they are.
It's very
from
far
our
out.
minds.
Yeah. And especially like since their seasons are so far out from where we are right now, because we're only on Benedict's season, which watch Bridgerton later this week, y'all.
Watch it this Thursday.
Watch it this Thursday.
It's gonna be so great.
It's gonna be so great. Actually, watch Bridgerton this Thursday, and then if you're watching online on YouTube, come back and leave a comment in the comment section and telling us what did you think of the season and if you're gonna read the books. Do it because we love it and we're pro. We want to hear your opinions.
Course, and I definitely enjoyed, of course, talking about Bridgerton with you guys. Of course, this new book series that I myself have not read at all, but I am actually very excited to when I actually get enough time. But you know what you should actually spend time for? Ordering some breakfast. That's right. Ever wanted to support your favorite radio station while eating Waffle House hash browns? Wolf Radio is hosting Spirit Night, February 24th from 2 p.m. to 9 p.m. at the Maple Street Waffle House. That is tomorrow. That is the Maple Street Waffle House, not any others, on February 24th, 2 p.m. to 9 p.m. Scattered, smothered order will cover our needs. Waffle House Spirit Night, 2 p.m. to 9 p.m. on Tuesday, February 24th at the Maple Street location. Again, that is tomorrow. Man, time flies by. But in the meantime, this has been it. I'm your host, Sean Smith.
I'm your co-host, Janelle Michelle.
I'm your co-host, Adia Stupplefield.
And this has been Wolves of the Written Word.